Okay, so creating a new app called Garrison. That's kind of the code name. That's definitely not going to be the app name. I'm not going to talk much about what the app is for. That's not really too critical. Just going to show you how I got started. So once you got K2 down, you need to create an app with the create app script. And I created an app called Garrison. And then the first file I'm usually going to start modifying is app schema. Now, the file you might look at right now is empty. It probably won't be empty in the future because I think some of the things I have here I'm going to keep in there, namely this app user table. And I'll explain that in just a second. I also modified app events, and I modified the after create account event, and that's where we insert a user ID, the user ID for the application or for the user that just got created into app user. So what is that user ID? Well, in K2, we manage accounts with SaaS auth. There's a SaaS auth table, and every time you get an account, you get a row in SaaS auth. And then there's a SaaS auth package, and unfortunately, it's called SaaS auth PKG. I always forget that, but because you can't have a package name and a table name of the same name, so that's why that is. But every time you get a row in this table, this after create account is going to get fired, and that will insert that user ID into app user. Now, why do we need that? Well, there's probably going to be a lot of attributes that you want to track for each user that other people don't need to track. Like maybe you want to track weight and height. You know, that's not something that's part of SaaS auth. That's something you would add to your app as columns in your app user table, and then you can have a form or a way of getting that information and updating it here. And then if somebody deletes their account using SaaS auth, you want it to potentially delete here. And so that's where you would go into events, and you would say either before delete user or after delete user. It used to be on delete account, but that doesn't work because some work you need to do before you actually delete the account, and other work might be after the account is actually deleted. So we needed to designate those two different possibilities. So you would just update, you could just do a delete from app user, and if everything is set up to cascade in your system with foreign keys, do a delete on cascade delete, and everything's going to get purged out. Maybe you just want to flag the account for deleted and not necessarily remove all the data, as long as you're not your foreign key links here on your objects and not back to SaaS auth. That'll work just fine. So this is this uninstall line. It looks like a comment, but it's a very special comment. We try not to get too crazy with the kind of weird rules, like if you want to have an uninstall script built automatically, you need this line. But it needs to start with dash dash uninstall colon, and then you can add a command which will drop or remove the data. And what happens when you run this app uninstall.shell, it creates this app uninstall.sql by grepping all these commands together. It's not a perfect system. You can test it, and if you find things aren't done in the right order, you can kind of hack it and add uninstalls at the bottom of this file or another file and things like that. But that's how that works. So at the top here, we're checking if this appdev.dropTables Boolean is true, and if it is, we're going to drop the table. That is set in the config package, appdev, and I've set that to true. It defaults to false. And what that's saying is, hey, if I'm saying I really want to like blow things away, drop tables, I don't really want to store state in my tables between installs. I want to kind of start from scratch each time. We set that to true, and then I add these drop table commands for my schema. I'm also going to delete from my ArcSQL log, which is where debugs or unit tests, things like that, logging would go to. We're just going to clean that out. We have a lot of application logging in there maybe. And then down here, this was just some stuff I was playing around with. I don't actually do this, but I'm a big fan of writing tests. Usually when I take the time to write tests, they pay dividends down the road. They're painful to write at first, but they pay dividends down the road. So these are two ways you could kind of make asserts that would throw errors in the log. And of course, if you're writing an app that other people are going to be installing, you want errors to show up that help you identify what went wrong, because a lot of times the only thing you're going to be able to look at is a log file. Of course, nowadays with remote desktops and screen sharing and all that, so maybe a little easier. So what I'm doing here, I'm just kind of writing an assert. If this table doesn't exist, raise an application error. Now I might put that at the very bottom, keep that at the bottom of this file, or maybe I would move that to a separate file at the end of the install that I wanted to run, and you could add that. I could create a file with all these tests in it. It doesn't have to be app test. It could be install test or something like that. And then on my app install, Garrison install, I would just run that file at the end, and it would kind of run through and make sure we built what we expected to build. Another way to do that would be to use ArcSQL unit testing, which is very bare bones. I really like it because I'm not looking at running big test suites. I just want errors to pop up, and I want to be able to see them when things don't go right, or it helps me model the behavior that I expect and then make sure that everything is working. So in this case, we say ArcSQL init test, we give it a test name, and then if the not test table exists, we say fail test, else pass test. And that will, I believe fail test will raise an error as well as log the error to that ArcSQL log table. At the end of this, we could select from ArcSQL log. We would want to look for error, pass, or fail, and then we'd see something like this. Okay, so I think that is it. So that's how we get started. I'm going to be building the schema. I may start building some packages, so I'll start with maybe app package and header and body right here. But I might create more packages. If I do, I'll just update my Garrison install so that they're getting built. And I'm going to start just stubbing out the kinds of calls that I want. And I really won't do any Oracle Apex work. I may not do any Oracle Apex actual work on this because I may just build the API. In my view, I should be able to visualize the application without building the application as long as all of those API endpoints exist. And it may be that what I build here is a RESTful API, a product that is simply a prototype. It's just thought through some of the issues. Building something for the first time is hard. Building it once it's been built or copying is a lot easier. And so this exercise just helps me think through a lot of different issues, potentially build a RESTful interface in which one or more developers or companies could use this service for the back end. So I envision, and that also gets me thinking about things differently. This may be 10 apps that I don't own, and I'm just building the capabilities to do certain things with it. And that can be true of any app you build. You don't always have to build a front end. Or your front end might be pretty bad, but the only point of it is to demonstrate what can be done on the back end. And I personally like writing the back end a lot better than the front end, but Oracle Apex, of course, makes it very easy for me to develop on the front end. And let me just plug Oracle Apex if you're not familiar with it. It is a low-code software development, app development, mobile development platform for Oracle databases, and it's an amazing product. It allows people like me to do not only the back end, but the front end. And those are two very different skills. And although I'm not very good at the front end, I can build something that actually works and is going to be very, is going to get the job done. but it may not be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. Let's see. One other item I was just going to mention here. So I was going through January 23 quick links and noticed there is a new cloud developer certification. So I think I'm going to go ahead and I enrolled already, and starting on, it's 18 hours of training. So I think I'm going to go through that just because I know it'll point out areas that I'm still unfamiliar with, or areas that that gaps in my own self-learning on Oracle Apex. But this first spreadsheet is a great tool you could borrow from for marketing services. I mean, Apex, do you need spreadsheets that need replacing? We can do that for you with Oracle Apex. Do you want to build a proof of concept? I don't know any faster way to build a proof of concept than Oracle Apex personally. I've played around with, not played around, I've actually built apps, microservice apps on with Python, with Flask, with other tools. I'm familiar with a lot of other stuff, and Oracle Apex for me is probably the best and lowest cost way to build a proof of concept app. Self-service apps, mission-critical apps, apps for gaps in corporate systems. Absolutely, it's great for like hooking things together. Back in the day, MS Access was a tool that I got my first job in. And one of the problems, you come into an environment and there'd be dozens of MS Access databases running wild, and all built from scratch by a business analyst or somebody who just kind of was getting into technology at the time, and so those got a really bad rap because they created some nightmares. I don't think Oracle Apex is the same thing, because it's a far more robust tool. It's centralized, well, anyway, totally getting off topic there. But anyway, you can build apps for gaps in corporate systems. MS Access was a tool that was used for some of that, and there were a lot of reasons that's not the right tool, and there's a lot of reasons why a tool like Oracle Apex is the right tool. And you can make people who you don't think are developers. They can actually develop really robust enterprise apps using this tool, and visibility is the real solution to all that. Don't make sure nobody is developing things in the dark. There's always accountability, visibility, source control, all that good stuff. Anyway, starting to ramble. So that's how you get started with an app in K2. I'm probably going to start a few apps because I'm not sure what I need to be working on right now. So I'm going to go ahead and work on the certification and start working on a few apps. It's really cold this week, so we're not building any mini barns. If you know that, I have a little side business in which I build these mini barns, and that allows me to, between gigs, play around with the technologies that I love. All right, thanks for watching if you made it this long. I really appreciate it.